Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to You, Me, and the UKTC, the show in which we deep dive the UKTC mission pack and tell you everything you need to know in order to be successful at UKTC events. Many moons ago, it was the job of Mr. Ed to create a wonderful series in which he spoke about all things necessary, and it's now my job. So let's see if I can manage it. Let's crack on. So today we're going to be looking at mission number 1. That has a primary mission of terraform. So in terraform, you're getting 4 points for each objective, including your home field. And on top of that, you can terraform an objective, which is an action that completes in your opponent's turn. And if you are able to be successful with that, you're then scoring 2 points every turn on top of your normal holding objectives, and getting 4 points for that. Your opponents can't terraform objectives back or anything. That's just you locked down for those 3 objectives across the middle of the board. Furthermore, battle line can advance, fall back, and action, which is obviously actually a really useful ability to have for a whole host of different armies. So that's the basics. What should our general approach be to this mission then? Well, I think it's really important for each mission to understand how would you go about scoring a reasonable number of points, right? And what is a reasonable number of points for each mission? And the way I like to think of this mission is that if you hold your home field and one of the no man's land objectives, and you manage to terraform something early, that gets you 10 points a turn, right? And if you get that 4 times, that's 40 points. So a 40 out of 50 for primary, I think, is probably pretty reasonable, and you've done a good job. This can often go on the low side, simply because both sides or both armies have easy access to any of the objectives. They're all equally distant away, basically. But yeah, if you can aim for that 40 point, that's the kind of approach that I think will get you good scores on this mission. When we're playing something like Dawn of War or Sweeping Engagement, where it's all spread across wide, usually the best approach is you need to pick a flank to kind of dominate. And what I see a lot, and I fall into this trap too, is people try and spread themselves a bit too thinly, and you just find yourself constantly being knocked off objectives. You're not able to lock one down and be generating that additional 4 points and a terraform. That's why we have something called natural expansion objectives, which are the ones which are kind of the obvious one that you'd go up and try and reclaim. The really interesting thing about this mission is it's not immediately obvious which one it should be, and it still isn't that obvious now, to be honest with you. If we look at our options, the middle one is obviously pretty much in the open. Your opponent can just charge it from their middle out. It can be shot at from every angle under the sun. That's not going to be your natural one. So you've got the choice of the left or the right flank, assuming we're deploying at the bottom of the board. So the nice thing about the one on the right-hand side is that you've got more surface area to put models onto, but converse, and it's obviously a bit closer to you, but conversely, you're out in the open unless you can be right up against that wall, and then they can get some good shooting angles on you. So that one's okay. The one on the left-hand side, you've obviously got that big L there, and you can hide even outside of that big L. And then when you get to the middle objective, to the objective on the left-hand side, you then actually are in a position where you can be up against the wall or hidden really nicely and hold that objective. So the left-hand side seems more logical. The only issue is that your opponent has a big objective map surface area to just go and stand on, and can quite easily out OC you in a lot of instances, purely just because they can stand on more of the map than you can. Obviously, that then means they're going to get shot off, but in some matchups, this can be really problematic. So that is why in this mission, more so than many others, it's really important that your opponent pay attention to your opponent's deployment. Where are they looking to be a bit weak? Or so if you can hold on to your important units in this deployment, and so you can place them in a really important area later on, and counter your opponent's deployment. I think that's really effective on this particular mission. I have a leaning towards wanting to hold the left hand side, and I think that often is quite often is the case. But again, you have to have high OC onto that small surface area of the map. Early terraforms are really great here. So if you do go first, because we don't going first can be problematic, right? But if you do go first, if you can just put pressure and start terraforming a bunch of stuff, and then hopefully you can get at least one off, and that will put you in kind of a good position there, really. Having infiltrators is great. It gets you in a great place. Obviously, just remember your opponent's going to be able to get to you almost certainly. So you just have to be careful about what you're putting where for your infiltrators. But again, if your opponent doesn't have much combat, and you can get some infiltrators up against those walls and say, come and shoot me off, then actually you might well be able to get early terraforms. And especially like elite armies might struggle to knock you off. I think the secret mission here is a pretty solid choice, especially if you're only ever managing to hold one. If you're only holding one, that's only scoring you 16 points on the primary. So a secret mission would be a really great choice here. High OC armies absolutely love this mission. Just go and sit there, die slowly, and have a big enough points lead that the job is done. Elite armies, as I said earlier, can struggle, and that is because they have a tendency to spread out. I played against Custodies on this mission with my Grey Knights, and it was very clear that they tried to spread everywhere, and it meant I was able to quite easily just focus down an area of the board and then lock it down and then work my way across the board. So especially if you're an elite army, try not to spread yourself too thin. In terms of secondaries, when you score sabotage, if you have a look at that middle big L, you can see there that you can stand just out of your deployment zone into that L, on both L's actually, and you can sabotage there pretty safely. So that's quite a nice sabotage spot with a small unit. And then also your home L on the right hand side, you can stand just there, just out of your deployment zone, and also sabotage. Obviously, the one on the bottom right hand side kind of needs just like a lone model, really, unless you're not worried about being charged. But there are some safe sabotage options. I would say the ones more out in the midfield probably aren't safe unless you've managed to lock it down. Deploying for containment can be a bit tricky. So the way I think you can do this is a lone model in the bottom right hand corner. If you look where those bottom L is, where the 8 and the 5 point in, if you stick a model there, and then it will have movement to nudge up diagonally right, and that will kind of give you a containment, which is probably reasonably safe from being shot. Then on the left-hand side, if you go a small unit kind of up on that middle, that up against the wall on the big L, right where that 6 is, that unit can then move forward. As I said, I play Grey Knights. I have a scout move. My strikes always kind of come forward up there and then can move up, and you can get 9 inches kind of in that hidden L and be not really seen by anything. It is able to position it like that. And then finally, you can, if you're up against the wall on that middle L, you can block the full 5 points for area denial, and you can also establish locus there. Obviously, you can be charged though, so that's just something to bear in mind. Okay, so that is mission number 1. Lots to think about here. It's quite a hard one to consider, but hopefully this has helped just to get your head in the game. I would highly recommend getting the terrain out, practicing deploying, thinking about where you want to put your weight of your force to really try and dominate and lock down an area of the board, because I think a lot of the wins on this particular mission are done when you get an early after turn 2. They're not coming near one side of the board. You've got it locked down and you're able to make your way across. Obviously, with how wide the deployment zones are, if you're an army that likes to deep strike, it's actually quite hard to screen out, especially as they look to push towards the middle. and there's quite a few gaps to deep strike down and cause havoc on. And if you look and where that 18 is in your opponent's deployment zone, like that is a prime little space, maybe even a rapid ingress if they don't screen properly. So yeah, lots of opportunities here, but this mission can absolutely go wrong. So I think this mission really kind of encourages good deployment and a good early game plan to get yourself going. I hope you've enjoyed. If you've enjoyed the video, please do consider giving us a like and a subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you back for mission number 2. Take care.